Welcome to tonight's news bulletin live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman television. But first, the headlines. Amid the precautionary measures, the mosques in the Sultanate are reopened for Friday prayers after being suspended for 18 months due to coronavirus pandemic. The U.S. Secretary of State praises the Sultanate's efforts to support security and stability in Yemen. Thank you for joining us. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail. The Friday Jum'ah prayer was stopped in the Sultanate's mosques in March 2020 as a result of COVID-19 repercussions. The Supreme Committee to deal with COVID-19 had issued a decision on September 19, 2021 to reopen mosques for Friday prayers from September 24th with specified protocols, including entry to only fully vaccinated individuals and requesting a commitment to social distancing, bringing special carpets and mandated wearing a face mask, along with permitting only 50% of the mosque's capacity. The Ministry of Endowments and Religious Affairs said Friday's ceremony in the mosques of the Sultanate for this week entitled "Say Praise Be to Allah." In the U.S. GCC Ministerial Consultative Meeting, which was held in New York in the sidelines of United Nations General Assembly meetings, the U.S. Secretary of State, His Excellency Antony Blinken, expressed his country's high regard for the positive role of the Sultanate in facilitating a peaceful settlement of this crisis in Yemen under the leadership of His Majesty Sultan Haytham bin Tariq. His Excellency Dr. Mohammed bin Awad Al Hassan, the Sultanate's permanent representative to the United Nations in New York, said before the joint ministerial meeting that these efforts will continue to help Yemen and to restore its security and stability. Matter concerning security in the region, the role of international community in promoting peace and stability, and observance of international law were discussed during the joint meeting. The significance of the strategic relations between the United States and the GCC countries was highlighted during the meeting, as well as enhancing the bilateral relations, coordinating stances, and activating joint work teams to serve the mutual interest of both parties. The U.S. House of Representatives voted overwhelmingly yesterday for legislation to provide $1 billion to Israel to replenish its Iron Dome missiles defense system just 2 days after the funding was removed from a broader spending bill. The measures passed by 420 to 9. Some of the most liberal House Democrats had objected to the provision and said they would vote against the broad spending bill if it was included. That threatened the bill's passage, with Democrats only narrowly controlling the House because Republicans have opposed the plan to fund the federal government through December 3rd and raise the nation's borrowing limit. The bill, which was introduced in the House on Wednesday, provides $1 billion to replace missiles interceptors used during May conflict. The influential sister of North Korean leader Kim Jong-un said today her country is willing to resume talks with South Korea if conditions are met, indicating it wants Seoul to persuade Washington to relax crippling economic sanctions. Kim Yo-jong's statements came days after North Korea performed its first missiles test in 6 months, which some experts said were intended to show it will keep boosting its weapons arsenal if the U.S.-led sanctions continue, while nuclear diplomacy remains stalled. She offered talks while mentioning South Korean President Moon Jae in a call issued in a speech at the United Nations General Assembly for a political declaration to end the 1950-53 Korean War as a way to bring peace to the peninsula. South Korea's Unification Ministry said it's carefully reviewing Kim Yo-jong's statement. It said South Korea will continue its efforts to restore ties with North Korea. Russia's state coronavirus task force reported 828 new deaths today, the country's highest daily number of the pandemic. The previous record of 820 daily deaths was registered on August 26, and yesterday, this week, the daily death toll reached 820 once again. In all, Russian authorities have reported some 7.3 million confirmed cases and over 202,000 deaths. Daily coronavirus infections in Russia have fallen from over 20,000 in late August to about 18,000 in mid-September, but started creeping up again last week. Yesterday and today, the state coronavirus task force reported over 21,000 new daily cases. Despite the increase, the Kremlin is not considering the possibility of imposing a nationwide lockdown at this point. Hardly any restrictions are currently in place in Russia, which has had one lockdown that lasted for 6 weeks. The Australian city of Melbourne witnessed an earthquake in case that is considered unusual for Australia. The Omani students in Australia are safe and continue their academic commitments to the fullest. More details in the following report.
It is rare for Australia to witness earthquakes as it is located far away from the boundaries of tectonic plates, and its geographical location is in the middle of a large continental piece, making tangible earthquakes unusual. Yet, the morning of September 22nd was exceptional, when people in the Australian state of Victoria woke up to a severe earthquake, which was considered the strongest earthquake since the 18th century.
The earthquake happened suddenly in the morning. It took me a while to realize it. I never thought that Melbourne will face an earthquake. Alhamdulillah, no one got hurt. I would like to inform all of our families that we are well and safe. And I would like to thank the General Consulate of Oman in Australia for ensuring the well-being of all Omani students.
The earthquake, measuring 5.9 on the Richter scale, occurred about 120 kilometers from Melbourne in the state of Victoria, and tremors were felt by residents of the neighboring states. The quake caused cracks in some buildings in Melbourne and caused walls of other buildings to collapse, especially the old ones. Immediately after the earthquake, the Consulate General of Oman in Australia contacted Omani students in Victoria and neighboring states to provide the necessary assistance, and eventually issued a statement on the safety of all Omanis in Australia.
I thought it was just construction things. Then I realized that earthquakes, and we evacuated the building. I would like to say to all families and friends, we are fine, just we need your praise.
The earthquake did not cause any serious injuries or deaths. The Victorian Emergency and Rescue Centre issued a statement saying that aftershocks following the first earthquake may occur in the coming days. However, they will not be at the same degree and may not be felt by people. From Melbourne in the Australian state of Victoria, Musa bin Ja'far al-Lawati.
Thank you, Musa, all the way from Australia there. And still to come in our news bulletin. A solitary house on a stretch of land was spared destruction from the following volcanic lava in Spain. Once again, welcome to the news from the Sultanate of Oman television. The increase of oil prices was maintained for the fourth day straight due to fear of decrease in the global supply caused by two hurricanes that hit the United States. The statistics from U.S. Energy Information Administration this week revealed that U.S. oil reservoirs receded below the record low since last 3 years after the extensive damages caused by the hurricanes, which led to the increase Brent crude oil prices by 12 cents to stand at $77.30 87 cents. Likewise, U.S. oil price increased by 6 cents to stand at $73.36 per barrel. Meanwhile, for Oman, oil price November 2021 delivery today reached $74.89, comprising an increase by 67 cents from the price of yesterday's Thursday, which was $74.22. The average price of Oman oil September delivery 2021 has stabilized at $72.73, thus $1.07 per barrel higher than August delivery 2021. The Minister of Labour continues to hold employment tests for job seekers to fill job vacancies in the government sector. The Ministry of Labour is conducting interviews and tests for a number of people from the South Sharqiya Governorate to fill a number of job vacancies in government institutions at the University of Technology and Applied Sciences in the Wilaya of Sur. Images of a single house left untouched by volcanic lava on a Spanish island of Lava Palma have become symbolic of the devastating impact of the natural disaster. Spanish photographer Alfonso Escalero first captured photo and drone images showing the house on a small stretch of land that had become like an island in the lava flow. The Cumbre Vieja volcanic ridge continued to produce explosions and spew out lava today, 5 days after it erupted. The lava has destroyed almost 400 buildings, including many homes on the western side of the island of 85,000 people. The lava stretches over 20,000 square feet and has blocked 14 kilometers of roads. You're watching the Sultanate of Oman television, and before we end tonight's bulletin, here are the main points once again. Amid precautionary measures, the mosques in the Sultanate are reopened for Friday prayers after being suspended for 18 months due to coronavirus pandemic. And the U.S. Secretary of State praises the Sultanate's efforts to support security and stability in Yemen. And with that, we do conclude this news bulletin brought to you live from this news center of the Sultanate of Oman television. Thank you for joining us, and good night.